Good evening, all of you. Welcome to today's small session. Anuj sir, you are there?
Hi, Hari.
Hi, sir.
Awesome, good.
So we already have around 32 participants as of now,
Very nice.
and even more adding up. And we'll have just wanted to, yes. So this is a small thing that we are doing in between. It's more of an educational for doctors that how does things work out. So let me for today's event, small webinar. Let me introduce our guests. I wouldn't say guests since that we have been meeting very often, very frequently. And this Mr. Anuj Jindal, and he's from MediAssist, and pretty much a top guy in health insurance industry. Recently, MediAssist went IPO, and he was one of the people who went and rang the bell. So Anuj sir, congrats on that part.
Thank you.
Part of the team. So one of the biggest thing that happened recently is GIC announcing cashless anywhere and cashless everywhere. So there has been a lot of questions, confusions from doctor's side that that how is it going to work out.
Yeah.
So actual process, we were at a loss that we were not able to find out what is the actual process. So I thought we will rope in one of the person who is very much in the loop regarding these things, and then we will take it from there. So today I'll hand over it to Mr. Anuj, and he will take it from there.
Thank
Sir.
you, Dr. Hari, and good evening, everyone. I heard you even use good morning for someone, so I'm assuming there is somebody in a different time zone. So, good evening to everyone, and good morning to if somebody is joining us from a different time zone. My name is Anuj Jindal, and I head the provider network for MediAssist. So, I'm Senior Vice President with the company, and as you know, MediAssist is India's largest benefits administrator, and that means we have one of the largest footprint of relationships with insurers, with corporates, with consumers, and as well as our hospital partners. Uh, Across businesses put together, we have about 18,000 hospital partners where we provide cashless. And through the insurer provider network, I think that number will easily hit close to about 30,000 odd across the country. Uh, I think between the providers and the payers like us, cashless is the thread that connects us to the hospitals, and uh, historically, the way cashless has worked is a hospital had to be impaneled by a TPA or an insurer for cashless to be enabled. Today, as we speak, industry has witnessed the growth of cashless overall, and it is today in the range of 50 to 60% depending on which insurer you talk to. Hi, Dr. Mukesh, I can see you.
Hi, sir. Hi.
So, so among insurers and TPAs, it's about 50 to 60% of the total claims come as cashless, and remaining is reimbursement. Again, the experience for consumers, that is the patients, has been that the whole premise of insurance comes under challenge when they have to file a reimbursement. Today, we know that people are buying pretty expensive policies, 5 lakh, 10 lakh cover, 20 lakh cover, very large covers. However, that cover has no meaning if the patient has to pay that money upfront and then go for a reimbursement, because then customer is asking this question: what is the point of giving the premium? Because I pay the premium for years together, and then for my treatment also I'm supposed to pay the money and then wait for the insurer to pay me back. Now, right or wrong, this is how the market sort of operates, and IIDI is the regulator for the industry, and it has been seeing a lot of complaints from the consumers regarding their issues in reimbursements, etc. And cashless is seen to be a place where at least the consumer complaints are not very high. So with that intent, IDI advised the entire insurance industry to create a method. Now, what that method is open to deliberation, but create a method by which a patient who is going to a non-network hospital should be able to avail cashless. So there were multiple methods that through which we could have done this particular thing within the General Insurance Council, which is basically an association of various insurers in the market. So they arrived at the method that I'm going to discuss, and which is what became cashless anywhere process, or 100% cashless as it is spoken about in the market. Uh, so as I said, the intent is to help a patient not pay from their pocket and should be able to avail cashless. Indirectly, I think this entire thing, what it has done is it has allowed now hospitals also to become part of the cashless process without waiting to be impaneled, right? And Hari and I have spoken a lot. I know a lot of people around who struggle by in getting impaneled with the insurance company TP, because we have a very complex process of onboarding a hospital. It's like the arranged marriage, right? It has its own challenges to get the families involved. You need to figure out whether you want to marry or not, and then in each religion and each tradition, there are multiple steps to get married, and so impanelment is that complicated process. Cashless anywhere seems to be a dating exercise, right? So it's a simple thing. The boy and the girl decide they want to, have dinner together, spend some time together. So think of cashless anywhere to be like a dating exercise, right? We get to work together in a very simplified manner. We're not committing to each other, right? We're not committing to each other for long term, but that opportunity still exists. So you could date and still decide to marry later on.
You're saying it's a live-in.
Sorry?
It's a live-in kind of a thing, arrangement, short gap arrangement.
Yeah, eventually, if you do not marry but you continue to date, I think it will become a live-in.
Okay.
But I think I will. There's a lot of content right now online available. You could simply do a search, and for the sake of everyone's benefit, I'll run a small summary of the steps. I have not prepared any PPT because I like people to pay attention to me and not to the screens. So I will speak, and please pay attention to whatever I'm saying. Pause me in case something is not clear. Ask me to repeat n number of times if you are not able to hear me or you're not able to understand the point that I'm making. I do not mind repeating myself any number of times, right? So I'll probably take, what's the time right now? It's 8:10. I'll take another 10 to 12 minutes to quickly take you through the process. And after that, we will have a lot of questions, because I think the gathering is also some around 50 people. And
There will be good.
yeah, so with that intention, I will sort of go through. So I explained what is the goal objective of this particular thing. It's a method meant to enable patients to get cashless at a non-network hospital. It is also a method by which a hospital that is not impaneled with an insurance company or a TPA can, in a very simplified manner, in a low-touch model, will still be able to provide cashless to a patient at their hospital, right? So this is largely the intent. So the the conversation that we will have in the next 1 hour or so would be completely about a hospital who is not impaneled with an insurer or a TPA. If you're already impaneled, then it doesn't make any sense, okay? Because you already have the railroad established. If you're not impaneled, that is where this process becomes useful to you. The trigger of this entire exercise is where a patient sends a request to their TPA or insurance company. Okay, so it is a request that the patient has to make. Now, it could have been a simple process where you go to a website, you fill up a form, and you say, "Submit. I want to request." But it is not like that. There is a little bit of extra work that the patient has to do. And actually, if you see the process, the whole work hospital only has to do. Patient has to be the the courier boy here.
Courier boy.
So what is the requirement? The pre-authorization form of that particular insurance company or TPA has to be filled up. Okay, and I think Hari, separately we should do a session on how to fill up a pre-authorization form, because if a hospital is not in the network, for them it's a learning curve.
A learning of experience, yeah.
Okay, so it's not very complicated. You simply say in that particular form who is the patient, who is the hospital, what was the presenting complaint of this patient, what is the treatment that is being advised, what is the expense that is supposed to be, how many days the patient is going to stay in the hospital and in which room category, etc., right? And then you basically put your hospital seal there. But it doesn't stop there. You need to then add admission advice, you add some lab reports, etc., that sort of explain or justify the admission. So that's how a pre-authorization sort of works. Hari, you have
Is it the same pre-authorization that we use for?
Ditto same, not an iota of a change.
Okay.
Okay. The only funny thing here, and it's like we were discussing it yesterday also. The funny thing here is in an impaneled hospital, when in an empanelment exercise, I will impanel first and then the pre-auth will come. But in cashless anywhere exercise, the pre-auth will come first. Okay, and I will identify who is the hospital, and then for that cashless, I will impanel the hospital. Right? So it's ulta from that perspective. The request has to come first. If there is no pre-authorization form request received from the patient, there is no starting point.
Got it.
Okay, pre-auth has to be sent. Now, it can be sent by the patient, it can be sent by the hospital, no problem at all. Okay, what we require is a method to identify, and I would definitely advise that if hospitals are participating in this thing, they should give a cover note at one page. It is not a mandated process in GIC, but I'm advising this thing. You say that this is my hospital, this is my Rohini ID, I am not part of your network, because that is going to be one extra diligence. You yourself will say self-declaration that I am not part of the network. So it's easier. I don't need to search, etc., right?
So basically the summary page.
No. It's not a summary. In that, you also mention how to contact me.
Got it.
Right? Because there is some documentation that has to happen subsequently for your empanelment for that claim. Okay? So how do I speak to you? Because in pre-auth form, unfortunately, there is no mention of how to contact the hospital, because we are already empaneled. So there is a gap in the documentation. That's why I'm advising that when you do the pre-authorization documentation, either the patient is sending or you are sending, make sure that you add one page to say, okay, this is me, this is the person you need to contact for taking the process forward. So hospital has to give a contact person, because the next step after the pre-authorization is received is the TPA or the insurance company has to speak to the hospital. While you understand that you have sent a pre-authorization form, it's just a page that you print out, fill it up and give some documents. But I need to pay you, right? It's cashless. So I'm not paying the patient in a reimbursement in a non-network hospital. I will pay to the patient, but that is not happening here. I have to pay you. Now for me to pay you, there are certain steps. I need to identify you, who you are. So you have to give me your registration details. You have to give me your Rohini ID. I need to ask you, how do I pay you? So you have to give me your bank details, etc., right? So there's some 4 or 5 things that the insurer or TPA will ask you. My understanding, because we work with almost everybody in the market, all insurers, not everyone, but there are like 2-3 cohorts. So there are some who, for example, want a Rohini ID. There are some who do not care. There are some who want a little bit more information about you. They'll ask you how many beds you have, etc. That is not a process mandated by GIE Council. Okay, so there are going to be small differences. So you need to ask that thing. What do I need to provide to you? You please tell me. There is a standard documentation which is fair. You will send, but please ask a little bit extra to the TP or the insurance person who's going to call you, who's going to contact you. What do you want from me? There's a standard, but beyond standard, what do you want? In MediAssist's case, when you send it, we will send you back a list of documents that we require. So we do not require any KYC from the hospital in the beginning. You send us a pre-auth with this little bit of information, then we will reach out to you, because we will see the insurance card of the patient. So if it is ICSO Lombard, I will ask you differently. If it is, say, PSUs, I'll ask you different questions. If it is, say, Reliance or Bajaj Allianz or whatever, I will ask you maybe different set of documents, whichever is the requirement of the insurer. Okay. You will ask me, why are you asking these questions? Because I need to create a vendor code for you inside my system. Okay. So we need a little bit of enrichment of the information to create a vendor on the TPA side as well as on the insurer side, right? That is why we ask this information. Hence, between different insurers, there is a difference of documentation. Eventually, you will learn because there are only finite number of insurers and TPAs.
Can I interfere?
Yes, sir. Please, anytime.
Yeah. For
Sir,
every patient, we have to do the
your
same.
name, sir. Sir, please state your name, sir.
Yeah, I am Dr. Santosh Agrawal. I am the president of MOS.
Sir.
Yeah, I want to just interfere for this point only. For each patient, you have to generate the vendor code, or you only for first patient.
Sir, very fair question. I think the process will evolve. Okay, process will become more efficient. But today the guideline says that I have to ask you every time. That is the guideline. However, we will become smart because we track every hospital by a hospital ID. So I will, as much as I bother you, I have to bother myself as well. So I think eventually what will happen for each insurer and TPA is probably we'll ask you once or twice. And then after that, we will ourselves stop asking you because we'll say, okay, who's the hospital sending? We'll check for the HID. We'll say, we have already got the documents. Probably third, fourth case onwards, I will not ask you those documents. Okay, but guidelines today say that every single time I'm supposed to ask. Okay, but like I said, efficiencies will emerge eventually. Today, the process is very offline-ish. You have to send an email, but I think eventually it will become an online process. You have to fill up a form, submit a request, everything will move digitally. Okay, so bear with us as the process evolves. We were in a bit of a hurry to execute, so we have gone in this kind of a manner. We will become better in this process. So you send me a request of pre-auth. I send you back a list of documents that I require. You send those back to me. I identify the hospital ID. I enrich that ID with the document that you send to me, and I'm saying, good to go. Now we can do cashless. Now I will receive the cashless or the pre-auth against your hospital ID. Okay. Now there is one step in between. There are some insurers who right now do not bother. Okay, whatever you're charging, that you will charge in 3% also, you will charge here. I'm not going to get into a conversation. But there are some who will say, right, but it is cashless. What is the discount you're offering to me? Okay, do you have a package? Can you convert an open bill into a package? Right? So the way we do contracting, we do empanelment. For some insurers, that conversation may happen. So my advice to hospitals is, please create some pricing methodology already. Okay. So if nobody is asking any question, this is going to be my price. But if somebody else is asking a question about a discount or a package, etc., I have already prepared all of that. This is ready. Because
so basically, sir, the hospital should know what is the lines that they want to draw.
That also, I'm coming to that, Dr. Hari. But point is, what do you want? Okay. Insurer also knows what do they want. So as long as there is a match between what you want and what they want, transaction will move forward, right? Typical empanelment process. So we are now having a conversation for a claim. As I said, it is an empanelment for a claim. Okay. So for that, I will ask you, how much are you going to charge? 3 different cohorts. One person will say, whatever you have, no problem. One person will say, I need some discount and whatever, right? Can you convert that into a package? A third person will say, I am not agreeable, kindly give me the package. And you give me a fixed price on the package. So depending on whom you are dealing, these 2-3 different asks can come. My suggestion, my advice is plan a little bit ahead. Okay, it's not a hard exercise. You can in fact speak to your hospital colleagues or friends who are already paneled. ask them. I can have a separate session, by the way, Hari, on how to think about pricing in empanelment conversation. We can do that as well, right? So how to fill up a pre-auth form and how to do pricing discussion, we can have separate conversations. Now, once this step is done.
Can I ask 2 questions? Small
Sir,
questions.
your voice is not clear, sir. Please come and go
Sir,
ahead.
it's clear now. I am Dr. Saurabh from Nagpur. I have 2 simple questions. First is, shall we apply to insurance or TPA if the patient comes first time?
Sir,
Question.
it depends. It depends if you look at the insurance card that the patient has come with. If the insurance card has got a TPA name mentioned, kindly contact the TPA. If the insurance card doesn't have the TPA name mentioned, contact the insurer directly.
Okay. TPA
This is the right way to think about it, but I would say look at the card. Whether you see, I mean, you will see 2 names on the card. One will be TPA, one will be insurer. Okay, go to their website, figure out where is the cashless anywhere mentioned. Okay, there will be an email ID mentioned. You can send to any one of them because both are coordinating with each other. Okay, you can send to insurer, they will send to us. You can send to us in case insurer is managing the conversation, we'll send it to them. Both things are.
Anuj sir, practical, running a hospital. So if it's a PSU insurance company with MediAssist TPA, please send the request to MediAssist. You will get a better, faster response because TPAs are generally in this kind of situation where the insurance company does not have an in-house processing. Then the TPA is a better.
No hurry. That's what I'm saying. It is a very different beast altogether. For example, in case of Manipal Cigna, they are the ones who are going to impanel.
Okay.
Even when the patient is carrying MediAssist card, Manipal Cigna is going to impanel. They are going to have this entire conversation of creating the HID of the hospital. Then the claim processing MediAssist will do.
Got it. So basically, depending on the insurer and the TPA combination, so basically the hospital has to contact somebody so that the entire who has to respond will respond.
Yeah. So what is going to happen is when you reach out, say if you reach out to me for Manipal Cigna with the pre-auth, chances are I will go back to you saying that kindly contact Manipal Cigna on this email ID.
Got it.
Do not send the documents to me. Okay, that's what I'm saying. Whichever email ID you get, you send something there. And most insurance companies and TPAs have created dedicated email IDs for this. So luckily for you, Pan India, there's only 50-60 email IDs that you have to work with for this. Whichever name you see, you work with that email ID. Life is very simple in this case. Okay, you have to initiate the conversation from that email ID. Right?
Okay, sir. Second question is related to, suppose I am not in contract with, for example, MediAssist. Now, since under a Cashless Everywhere scheme, the first patient comes to me and I want to apply like for cashless for that patient to MediAssist.
Yes.
So do do I need to have a hospital ID registered first, or like what is the process for that? Simple one line, first how to start with it.
So like I said, Dr. Saurabh, because you are not impaneled with MediAssist, either the patient or you have to send a request to MediAssist. In our case, what we have done is we have created an email ID called as Cashless Everywhere at MediAssist. On that email ID, hospitals are supposed to send, because we thought, why bother the patient in this case? Okay, so there is an email ID we have for the patients, which is intimations at the MediAssist. That is for the patients. But once they reach out to us, we are saying, you get out of it. We want to speak to the hospital. Kindly ask the hospital to send us a mail on Cashless Everywhere. So in case of MediAssist, we have a dedicated email ID on which hospitals have to reach out to us.
So basically, if Dr. Saurav's hospital has no tie-up with MediAssist, never dealt with MediAssist, never even heard about MediAssist, a patient comes with a MediAssist card, they can just go online and Google that MediAssist Cashless Anywhere email ID.
Yes.
So most likely you will get email ID.
Fill up the pre-auth form and send it to us there.
Okay.
That part is clear. Now the part B of same question, like do we need to do it again and again, or once we have registered with you and the rates are authorized, will it be valid for certain period of time, certain duration of time?
As long as you are not impaneled with us, okay, as long as you are not impaneled with us, you have to follow this exercise every single time. I'll tell you why. Because this is a request by the patient. Okay, it is a request by the patient, because it is not an equation between you and me. It is always a request. Although if you have done this thing, speak to the provider team that, you know what, 2-3 times I've sent you the request. Now you and I know each other. We have also shared the rate list as well. Why don't you panel me? Right? You already have my document set. Only earlier I sent you rate for first procedure, second procedure, third procedure. I'm now willing to give you my entire rate card for my whatever 200 procedures. Let us talk about empanelment. Most of us actually will reach out to you back. If we see that you have already sent me 2-3 times claims, then I will say, Dr. Saurabh, let's do empanelment only. Okay, because we also will get fed up of getting the same conversation with the hospital every single time, right? Because I'm supposed to call you every time you send me a pre-auth. So I say, Arey, Dr. Saurabh, I've been calling 2-3 times. Dr. Saurabh, let us empanel you. So that is how the process is going to nudge the hospital as well as the TPA or the insurer to get into empanelment. Okay, let me move on.
Yes.
Okay, so hold your questions for the timing. Let me complete the process. And there are some important steps in the process that you need to be careful about. What is cashless? Cashless means you are providing a credit to the insurance company. Okay. Normally, a patient would have paid you on the day of discharge. Now you are not getting the money on the day of discharge. It is a credit sale. That means you are not getting the money on the day of discharge. Insurer will make the payment to you later on. For that, there is a process. Okay. Now, like Dr. Saurabh mentioned that, say, I do not have any relationship with MediAssist. Each insurer and TPA has a different process to pay you. There are different steps to that. So when you send me pre-auth, I told you documents, you send those documents back to me, I created or activated your hospital ID to receive the pre-auth, and I received the documents and the entire.
No, continue, sir. Is somebody some noise?
Okay. Yeah. So patient came in, pre-authorization was allowed, and on the day of discharge, patient walks out. You have an approval letter. What do you do with that approval letter, right? Now you have to start the payment process. My suggestion is, when at the beginning patient is not admitted, patient is right now in the your conversation is happening with us, pre-auth, documents, etc. Just give me a second. They're going to their family. Okay, I'll call you. So, before the patient admission itself, please ask the corresponding PPA or insurance provider team, for payment, what is your process? With whom should I coordinate? And in what time period will you pay me? Okay? Ask those questions. Even if somebody says there is there is an MOU which has some of these details, but I will still advise you, when you're speaking to the provider guy, network person from the insurance company or TPA, clarify these questions. Do not go by what is coming in a standard document. Make those notes. Whom should I contact? Where should I send my claim? How long it will take for you to make the payment? If there is a problem, if there is a issue, to whom should I speak to? Who is the regional person for me to reach out to? Okay, all of these things are important, because after the discharge, you need to again ask for payment. There is certain procedure for that. Some will have online process, some will have offline process, right? Somebody will say, send me the hard copy. Somebody will say, upload a soft copy. Do you have the login? Right? Hard copy sending to a letter is to an address is easy. You just create a package, put the address, send it to Anuj Jindal, Dairy Circle Office or MediAssist, I will receive. But if Anuj says online, which login page I have to upload? Because you will most likely have a login ID password. So you need to have that clarity before you send the patient out. Right? Get that clarity. What are the documents you require? Do not have any assumptions, is my request.
Okay.
Any assumptions. Like Hari was thinking, right? You look at the TPA, send to the TPA. This is a very different process. Do not assume. Ask a lot more details. Different insurance companies will have different things. I don't want to impose MediAssist way on you, because different people have different methodologies. Also, that method will evolve. So maybe you spoke to me for the first claim, I told you a process. Chances are 1 month later on, process would evolve. Okay, so there's something that would have changed. So every time you are speaking to the network guy, double check, be very sure. At least for the first 6 to 8 months. So think about it. Till Diwali this year.
It's a Diwali.
Okay, till Diwali this year, every time you do a cashless anywhere kind of a claim, please ask every single time, how will you make the payment to me? What are the payment procedure? What is the grievance procedure? Because I may change. This is a different person, right? So you'll have those kind of issues. So please get those things. What I can do with Hari is I'll give you a checklist of questions that you should ask back. Okay, you should ask back those questions. Have a checklist with you. Every single time you do, fill up the form, because you will have somebody in the admin team who will do the coordination on your behalf. Give it to them so that you have it in your track record, right? So there's a simple MOU, one pager, a letter that insurance company is going to issue to you for that claim. You will fill that up. You will send the documents to us. Patient will go out. Discharge will happen. There is an entire payment process that has to happen, right? Then, I think last point from my side on this is, if you do not have a Rohini ID, kindly apply for it.
Okay.
Okay, because for some insurers, Rohini ID may be a mandatory criteria to allow cashless anywhere.
So, like, is it correct to say that it's not some, most?
No, I would not agree with that. I think some will have, not everyone will have the
So,
Rohini ID requirement.
Basically, what is the eligibility criteria for a hospital to undertake cashless anywhere this thing?
It's not eligibility criteria, especially for cashless anywhere, Dr. Hari, because it is meant for a non-network hospital.
So, Nini, I'll tell you what. So, you see the problem.
Let me explain. Just give me one more minute, okay? The whole process is meant for a hospital that is not in the network. Okay, but what happens is different insurers and TPAs have different IT systems in the backend. So sometimes, because the systems are designed in a way that for cashless, a Rohini ID is mandatory. Okay, so poor fellow gets stuck because my IT system does not allow me to offer cashless without Rohini ID. So I understand you are a non-network hospital, but unfortunately, I need a Rohini ID from you. So therefore, there are some insurers, because of the limitations of their IT systems, will demand a Rohini ID from you. There are others I know of, private insurers, who do not have that criteria. They are saying, I don't care. If you do not have a Rohini ID, no problem. I'll give you still cashless.
So,
No,
when I
Rohini
say,
ID.
yeah, sir, what I wanted to say is that a lot of hospitals, any hospital, so basically any hospital which is licensed and permitted by the local state authorities to function as a hospital or a daycare center can go for cashless anywhere.
Correct.
Okay.
That is the basic requirement. But for some insurers, Rohini ID may be an extra requirement.
Okay.
But yes, you are right. That is a basic requirement.
Like I'll give you the example, like for eye care hospitals, shops and establishment acts, and whatever legal requirement of that particular place, particular state.
Yeah.
So, okay.
What I can say is that Rohini ID will be is an unique ID for each and every hospital. Each and every hospital will have a unique ID. So this will not be a similar. No, one hospital will have one ID on. So Rohini ID will be at most necessary in this case because that identifies the hospital in the system.
Sir, over a period of time, every hospital will eventually get a Rohini ID once this cashless anywhere starts.
It's a very easy way to get Rohini ID.
It's not difficult.
It's not difficult.
It's not difficult. My suggestion is that I think every hospital should have his own Rohini ID. Because why I'm telling you, later on, it should not happen like that. No, while processing without Rohini ID, the payment goes to somebody else. Then there will be a lot of issues. So it's better that you have a Rohini ID. So digitally, you are connected to the payment gateway of that hospital.
Yeah, it's identifiable. It's an identifier, so not a problem, sir. So, sir,
just give me a second. Just give me a second. Just give me a second.
So, basically, what we can understand is that cashless anywhere is a stepping stone towards empanelment. Like basically, if you have a lot of patients coming to you, most likely the insurance company or TPA themselves will approach you and say that, okay, boss, come on board, let's do it in a formal way.
Now, if you're more frequently dealing with a particular TP or insurer, it is in the interest of both the parties to get into empanelment.
Okay. Now, sir, one of the most common questions that everybody is keeping on asking is about the rate list. Now,
okay.
Is there a situation that might arise? You already clarified it, but just wanted to be clear on that part. That if I send a pre-auth for a patient for a surgery for 1 lakh rupees, and when the insurer or the TPA looks at that, and suddenly I get a call back and saying that, sir, don't we are not going to pay for 1 lakh. You reduce it to 80,000 or 70,000, then we will consider this or something like that.
No, so your question is, will the hospital get a call?
Will the hospital get an on the spot negotiation call? You know, what we call spot sale.
Okay, so like I said, there are 3 tracks. Okay, there are 3 tracks. One is insurer is okay with your price, no questions asked. Second is insurer is saying, can you give me some discount on this thing? Or, do you have a package for this? The third one is mandatorily that do not give me an open bill, give me a package. Okay, and I'm talking about surgical cases, medical management to chhod do. Let us not even worry about that, right? So most likely any discussion on the pricing will happen at the pre-admission stage itself, Hari.
So we know, that means we'll be very clear whether it is financially feasible for us to go for it or not.
Correct.
So
Correct.
we can make a financially aware decision.
Correct. However, here's a disclaimer. I do not control all the insurance companies.
Understand.
Okay. What can happen potentially is 1 or 2 people can, have this kind of a thing where, because I'll tell you the issue. At the time of discharge, the bill can be anywhere. Okay, admission time you have some understanding, but later on the bill goes somewhere else. So when the discharge time the bill is sent, some people might want to come and say,
Anu sir, just a minute. Somebody is commenting there is no audio. Parishit sir, can you hear us? Okay. Mukesh sir, Ayush sir, you can hear us?
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
Fantastic. Anu sir, continue, sir.
Okay, so if I were to put a percentage to this, 95% of the times you should not get a call after admission. Okay. 95% of the time you will not receive a call. All back and forth will happen prior to admission. Okay, because there is no obligation to either hospital or to the insurer to do cashless. Only when ladka ladki razi, you can do dating thing. Okay, so it's a requirement that you tell me what do you want. I will tell you if I'm okay with this or not. And only once there is a clarity, we'll say, chalo, let us do cashless in this particular case. So there's a lot of ladka ladki raji wala scenario in this case. Only in 5% of the cases, people will realize as an afterthought, oh shit, I should ask this question. Right?
But sir, now one more
thing.
There
are some questions in the chat. Let's look at those questions in the chat. I saw a couple
of I'll see.
Just give me a second.
We'll take it from the top.
I mean, I'm deal from whatever sequence you want to pick.
So that we don't miss anything.
Good evening.
Yes.
I'm Namita Sharma from ASPN Eye Hospital, Bhilwara.
Okay.
My question is the pre-auth equivalent to the final approval? Like normally we have, this is the pre-auth and the final will be decided upon when the bills are submitted. So in this case, is it the same scenario?
So this was my upcoming question for Mr. Anuj. So
there are another question I have is if we don't agree to it, like another thing, like we have a pre-auth of say X amount of money, and during the course of the surgery, something changes, like the lens changes or something else. Then who is liable to pay for the changes?
Okay. So the first thing is, There are two approvals for pre-authorization. One is at the time of admission, where it is a plan. It is not a bill. Okay, when you send that initial prior to admission or on the day of admission, that is a plan. You think patient has this problem, you think this is the treatment you want to do, right? But you know from your experience that not all the cases go through that way. So eventually what happens is we do not know what you treat, right? So that is why there is a discharge day pre-authorization. So you create your final bill, you again follow. So in our case, you will have to send it to cashless@mediassist.in. So again, all of those formalities, our network team is going to provide to you. So you have to send the claim to a particular email ID, or you can use a system to send it to us. We are talking to a few vendors so that you can have a completely digital process to sort of work with us for this entire exercise. However, so you will send one pre-auth at the admission, you will send a pre-auth on the day of discharge. On the day of discharge, you will have the discharge summary and you will give us the actual bill. Your treatment may have changed. Your cost estimates would have changed. Okay. So on the day of discharge, we will see. Now, when we agreed at the time of admission for certain rates, etc., you thought treatment is going to be this. Now, in your own second questions, Dr. Namita, you are saying treatment itself has changed or something has significantly changed. It's not a minor change, it's a major change. Now, in that case, you also want to speak to us, we also want to speak to you. Because we agreed for something else. Okay? We agreed for something else. Then you will have the network person's contact number, right? That's why I said, in the beginning, you will speak to somebody. So you will have somebody's contact number, you speak to them. That there is a bit of a change, what do we do now for this particular thing? You need the clarity. Otherwise, at a very simple level, you will send something, we will send the approval after that. Right? So we will also say, something changed. We will probably ask you a query for this. Why is there a change, etc., etc. So different people have different process. In our case, if you do not speak to us, we'll send you a query on your email that you tell me why there is a change, what is the rate for this thing, etc., etc. Basis that we will send you an approval, which will look.
So you could accept or reject the case, right?
Just a second. The approval that you will get on the day of discharge will look very different from the approval you had at the time of admission because there is a major change.
So
we as ophthalmologists, we are working on a daily basis. So for us, the date of admission and discharge is the same. So what is the TAT for receiving the discharge final approval?
So, Anuj sir, let me add on to there what you just said. That patient, the final bill and discharge, I am sending it to you before the patient is discharged physically, correct?
Correct.
And till the time you send us a final approval with the entire query, everything resolved, and with a total breakup table saying that, okay, this much money I pay, this much money patient pays, this much money you get. Till the time we get that, we are not supposed to send the patient out of the hospital or hand over the discharge documents to the patient.
Correct. Absolutely right. That is how all the cashless hospitals also operate. Yes.
Yes. So in this process, the same thing works. Now, the thing is, sir, see here the race, what Dr. Namita is saying that is that majority of the people attending this meeting is ophthalmologist and our TAT, well, what to say, the TAT for surgery, that is the admission and discharge time is most of the cases less than the TAT for your company.
Yeah.
Right. So we admit within 4 hours we are discharging. So would you be able to make up to it, catch up to it?
No, so I think that is the same thing we do for impaneled eye centers also, right? So from a claim processing perspective, there is no difference between a non-network and a network hospital because on the day of discharge, I need to know what is the service you rendered. Because at the time of pre-authorization, and especially now that you brought in ophthalmologists into picture, many doctors don't even tell us what they're going to do with the lens and all that. Very few tell, many don't tell. So we need a confirmation. Plus, you may tell us something because you're doing the paperwork. It's administrative in nature. So say, chalo, theek hai, let us get an approval. But by the time patient comes in and you are also trying to, again, it's a commercial transaction. You may sell something to the patient. So at the time of discharge, we want to know what you have actually done. So do not be in any assumptions, because we are not in any assumption. We want to know what treatment you have done. And my understanding and experience is that there are changes that happen. And at the pre-auth level, not much detail is shared. Also, Dr. Namita, maybe
in
for
case
empaneled-
there is no change,
Namita, just a
are you
second,
liable
just a
to
second.
pay the amount you gave for the pre-auth? In case there is no change, can we assume that we will get the pre-auth approved amount?
Let me answer
And there
your
will be no
previous
changes.
question. Let me answer your previous question. I have not completed that answer. I will take up this
Okay.
question. Just hold to that. Now, what I'm saying is that in a normal empaneled hospital, you could send me pre-auth in the morning and then discharge drama will take place. But here, because you are not empaneled, you are required to initiate the process mandatorily 48 hours before admission. It is mandatory. If you are empaneled, right, Hari? You can send the morning also.
Morning also I can send within half
You
an
can
hour.
get away with
Will
it.
operate.
Yeah.
Okay, you can get away with that. But because you are not empaneled, it is incumbent on you that you send the request at least 48 hours before the admission, planned admission of the patient. If you have some leeway, try to do it 3 days, 4 days in advance also, because it's a planned procedure in your case. Please do that. When you do that, we do whatever we need to talk, but that also is a plan. Now, between the plan and the actual treatment, there could be a gap. Okay, we want to see the discharge summary, we want to see the discharge bill, and because you are not in panel, all the more important that you share that information to us. Do not go by any assumptions at the time of admission, because you are also, you don't have the billing practices that normally an in-panel hospital will have. They are more accustomed to dealing with insurance companies, right? So you learn certain things with habit, with practice, and your billing sort of evolves. But if you are a non-network hospital, once in a while you're dealing with one insurance company, then in that case it can be a bit of a challenge for you, right? Now, what was the next question, Dr. Namta? Will you be paid on the approval?
The initial, if the plan has not changed, if the treatment plan has been executed as the initial plan.
Kindly still give me the discharge documents.
Yes. Namita ma'am, understand that this is one essential thing which I tell all the people in our group also, that don't depend on the initial approval. Initial approval is just a provisional this thing. So you need to send the discharge document before discharging the patient physically.
Yeah, see, with network hospital, it works because I know them. There is a billing practice, they know me, I know them. There's a little bit of a relationship and trust built into that entire process. It works very well. But because here we just like for one transaction we have activated. You don't know me, I don't know you. I'm not saying trust ka issue. I'm simply saying we are not acquainted to each other's method that very well.
My question is, if there is no change in plan and the pre-auth it was say for X amount and the final comes for X minus Y amount, if and the patient refuses to pay that difference, who is liable to make the compensation?
So basically, sir, what is happening is, what her question is, if the initial pre-auth came for 50,000 and the patient has been operated according to the plan only, but in the final approval it came as 45,000 will be paid by the insurance company, 5,000 to be paid by the patient as copay or whatever, sublimit exhausted, whatever reason. Now the patient says, I'm not going to pay.
So on this very simple thing, I think all mature empaneled hospitals follow a process, and Dr. Namita and everybody else on this call, I think you all need to have this thing going with the patient. What is that? There is a counseling that happens of the patient. You say you are an insured customer. You are going for cashless, right? Now, my mood can change in terms of treatment. Insurance company's mood can change in terms of approval. Okay, so we will wait for the day of discharge. Do not go by whatever is the initial approval. On the final approval, depending on what treatment I have given, what understanding the insurance company has, approval will be different. It will look different. Okay, now if there is a difference, and like you said, X minus Y is the approval, initial was X, so there is a higher amount that the patient is supposed to pay. You have already done terms and conditions applied to the patient at the time of when they're coming in, right? So at the time of discharge, you need to sit with the patient and say, see, there is some change, either in my treatment or in the understanding of the insurance company in the approval. The difference amount you have to settle.
And ma'am, one more thing is that.
But you need to do proper counseling of the patient. Do not go by the letter alone.
So what the process, the workflow is that you send the discharge and bills to the insurance company. They provide you a final approval. But now my patient is sitting in the ward. He has not yet been discharged. So
Yeah.
I get the final approval in my hand. My staff goes and tells the patient, sir, you are due to our hospital so and so amount of money according to this final approval document. So if the patient says, yes, okay, he pays. After he pays, then we hand over the discharge document to the patient and tell them you are free to go.
Yeah.
If the patient refuses to pay, I can tell you about the practice in my hospital. There has been few incidences like that where if the patient refuses to pay, patient is not effectively discharged because we have not handed over the documents to them. So we hand over the document. We don't give the movement order.
Dr. Hari, just I want to interfere.
Sir,
it's a cashless process, so you cannot hand over the documents to the patient. And after doing the surgery,
discharge. Sir, there is nothing called you cannot hand over the document to the patient. You are supposed to give a copy of
it is a copy of the discharge summary and the bill. No, so you will give a copy. Now, what Dr. Hari is saying is, I will not even give you if you do not pay me.
Yeah, simple.
But I think the answer to that, Hari, is I think effective counseling of a patient is a must.
Once patient
and there is a declaration that the hospitals ask the patients to sign. In the declaration, patient says that whatever is not approved by the insurance company at the time of discharge, I will settle. Okay, most important hospitals get a patient to sign the declaration because, like I said, between the admission and discharge, your mood can change, my mood can change.
Sir, your question that you asked, the point that you said is valid. So what I do is that if a patient has refused to pay that difference amount, then the patient is absconding from my side. I have not physically discharged that patient. I have not legally discharged the patient. Patient can choose to abscond. Patient can refuse to take a follow-up from me. I'm not going to see the patient on follow-up. I'm not going to give him the implant stickers. I'm not going to give him any of the documents which I'm supposed to give him normally.
But this cannot be done legally, sir. This cannot be done legally. You have to give the documents to the patient.
No. I can correct you there. Unless and until the patient completes his financial transaction, it is a doctor-patient relationship is established only once the payment is completed. That is very clear, sir. You can withhold the documents if the payment is pending. This is a very different discussion, sir. So, if a patient is going against medical advice, we don't need to. We can just give a summary if they want to go. If they are not.
Many times, patient quarrel with company also and with us also. So then,
Sir, the world is not a perfect place, sir. The world is not a perfect place. I have seen fantastic patients. I have seen, patients who have fought.
Sir, but one question I want to ask, because we operate the patient with discharge on the same day, madam was asking the same thing, why there is a need of final bill and approved bill? Because already we have spoken to the patient, everything about the lanes, everything. It happens very rarely that change of lanes or something different surgery is done. Most of the time, in 99% cases, the same lens is implanted, everything is done same, patient is discharged on the same day after 2 hours only. So why there is a need? It is needed in orthopedic, gynae, because they admit the patient for 3-4 days, 5 days, 7 days. They need that. We
Dr.
don't
Santosh,
need that.
Dr. Santosh, okay, let me...
And one more thing I would like... Just one sec, sir. Just one more thing I would like to ask here is why not give the full authorization of whatever is there? Because what happens is many times patients will come and they'll tell us ki whatever fits in our insurance, do that only. And then we are in a query because many patients, they don't want to pay anything over and above. They say that we have already paid for the insurance. We don't want to pay anything more for the lens. And then we are always in a query what to do in such situations. So
Dr. Swapnil,
I think we are mixing the topic. We are mixing the topic.
No, it's not a mixing. Let me answer this question because it's a cashless question. And let me answer. I have understood the question. Let me answer your questions. So, first of all, no doctor can give a guarantee every single time that the treatment plan is going to be the same as the actual outcome. No doctor can give a guarantee, no hospital can give a guarantee. So let us not even argue on that, because I'm not asking that question to you. Okay, I'm understanding that. Therefore, my simple point is, whatever work you have done, kindly submit that at the time of discharge. Period. There is no point to argue on that. Number two, to the question of Dr. Santosh, as I said, your mood can change, my mood can change, but there is a technical issue also. The way today the systems are designed, or the way the claim processing people in insurance companies work, there's a lot of understanding from the view of the contracts. There is no contract here. There is no contract here. The transaction is happening on the fly. Now, your risk today, and I'm being very, very open about it, your biggest risk in cashless anywhere would be that there is an unknown, without face, without name claim processor who will randomly get your claim, right? Because we do not have different queues. So everything will go into the same queue to the claim processor. And that person cannot differentiate between an empaneled hospital and a non-empaneled hospital. For them, it's a cashless coming in front of them. So there it will get confused. There is no contract. How do I evaluate? So chances are there can be certain decisions that the processor will take, which will not be similar to what you saw at the time of admission. Okay, mood can change, like I said. So do not go by that. It is in your
Can I
safety.
ask one
Sir,
question, sir?
here one more thing, sir. One more thing I want to ask you, sir. See, in this, as you said, this is an ad hoc arrangement that we are having for every case. So many times when we do cashless, we see that during settlement there are some deductions that additionally come. Here can we just give a assurance that whatever is the final approval provided will stand in terms of payment?
See, most likely, it should not be a challenge, because here at the time of admission there is a conversation happening on the pricing. Normally in cashless, the pricing conversation doesn't happen, right? You do a contract and you forget it. Now what happens is, in between, hospital changes some rates, contracting understanding changes. There is a renewal issue also, Dr. Hari, right? So there is a problem related to renewals, etc. Here in this case, you tell me the price and I figure out what I need to do, right? So I think in this particular case, although volume is not going to be very high, but because every single time there is going to be discussion on the price, chances are payment hassles will be much lesser. The confusion on the patient payments will be much lesser, because we are not referring to a contract.
So here,
Sir,
sir,
one thing I want to ask, many times what happened, patient was told
Dr.
that
Santosh, Dr. Santosh, one request I have. There are about 69 people on the call. Okay. Little bit of democracy will help. We will allow other colleagues on the call to also.
Anand Mohan, sir, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Hari. What our co-host is suggesting, he is mentioning, right, that the final AL may vary, but in case of ophthalmology practice, even in the network hospitals, everything is well defined and the changes are rarely happening. To reduce the dispute, is it not possible that the insurance companies in the initial authorization issue the lesser amount so that they don't have to reduce it further? In this way, there will be a clarity between the patient as well as the hospitals, and there won't be much issues later on. What normally happens is that the insurance companies gives you the complete sanction and later on they reduce it. This creates a friction between the patient and the healthcare providers.
Sir, this is a query on the claim processing part, sir. Yeah.
I think it is a contested topic. We can spend hours on this particular conversation. There are different thoughts, different ideas, and different methodologies that everybody follows in the market. Unfortunately, I understand for a provider dealing with a variety of payers, it becomes a bit of a challenge, because you want to do a standard thing, but I follow a different process, a star follows different process, another private insurer will follow a different process. So there are variations. I completely empathize with you on that. But like I said, between admission to discharge, mood can change. That is a reality. Accept it, work with that. Okay, there is no place for assumptions because it is a commercial transaction. Do not work with assumptions. There is the wish list. We can all have wishful thinking. I should be like clear and all that. Like I said, and Dr. Anand mentioned on that, for network hospitals, many of them get away with initial approval because a lot of these things are known to both the parties. Okay, a lot of things are known to both the parties, but in cashless anywhere, I will not recommend that because you are not on my panel. I do not know you, you do not know me. And so, in that assumption, most likely you will be the person who will be hit commercially, financially, not me.
Sure.
So, please be cautious and make sure that you wait for the discharge. Anyways, the transaction is not going to be very large. If the transaction is very large, anyways, I will call it and say, let's get it in panel.
Sir, Ellen Kumaran sir, please go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Hari. Mr. Anuj, I would like to, definitely all of us are facing this problem, and I would like to tell you, final approvals sometimes come the next day. I've had this issue just last week. Next day. Now, most of us, almost all of us are daycare hospitals where we shut down by 7 o'clock, maximum 7 o'clock, or many of us at 6 o'clock. I understand what you said. Your process involves that we have to send a final bill after discharge. Fair enough. But can this be fast tracked? That is,
sir,
another
basically point. What Ellen Kumaran sir is saying that for ophthalmology cases, if the TAT can be shortened for final approval.
Yes.
So I have a question back to you, Dr. Kumar. How frequently have you witnessed this problem?
No, this is happening once in a while only. I accept that point. But people like me operate after 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So most of the times the patient is very good, but this particular time we had to go through a lot of issues.
See, it can happen once in a while. Like Dr. Hari mentioned, world is not a fair place. Once in a while, even the rockets can crash. The most sophisticated scientific instruments. Your best surgeries can go wrong. The most experienced doctors can, make mistakes while doing a surgery, and patients may not really react to the treatment the way you anticipated, right? So there are things that happen in life. I think take it in your stride. Let's not worry too much about the eventual.
So I conveyed wrongly. Sorry, 1 minute. Most of the times it happens within 3 to 4 hours. That is before our closing time. Okay. But this one incident, what I said, next day happening, it happens once in a while. Say maybe once in 2 months or 3 months. Sorry, I conveyed it wrong. Can this be fast tracked? Say if it is the same surgery, we have not changed the plan, same length. Can it be within a few minutes?
Ellen Kumar sir, can we limit our discussion to cashless anywhere? Because I think we are deviating towards the normal routine insurance costing queries.
Okay, Dr. Hari, please go.
We will keep a separate session for that those questions. Sir, Anuj sir, few questions I would like to put on cashless anywhere only.
Yeah.
So what is the timeline that a hospital is looking at receiving the payment from the insurer?
So I think there's not going to be much difference from how we treat any network hospital from a payment perspective. There is no special treatment. There is no adverse treatment. The way we do for everybody, it's going to go to the same queue. However, like I said, because there is no relationship with that particular TPA or insurer, ask a lot of questions. Because in panel hospitals, because of practice, habit, etc., know a lot. They fumble initially, but then eventually, you come online, you know what to do, you know whom to call. But if you do not have a relationship set, your first 2-3 transactions can get into some trouble because of, I have sent a query, you have not received, you are not used to receiving a mail from me. My mail is landing in your spam box. You do not know when I sent you a question, you don't know how to answer that question. So, because it's a very new way of, looking at a particular query, maybe my people are stupid. You have already dealt with some intelligent people, right? So you're probably dealing with a stupid team. I don't know. So a lot of random things can happen in the payment process when you are dealing with first time with a particular insurance company or TPA. So
ask a few more things, sir. They say now here what is happening is because of cashless anywhere, the hospitals which are never worked with health insurance cases is going to handle cashless cases suddenly, right?
Correct.
So there's going to be a lot of roadblocks. So if you realize, see, there are few accepted ways in which a billing is done in a hospital which is doing insurance cases.
Yeah.
Over a period of time, we have learned it.
Yeah.
Like these charges are not allowed. These charges are enemies. These are non-medical expenses. These are medical expenses. So these kind of distinctions, so is there any resource that a hospital can go through, or a small guidebook or something which a hospital which is doing cashless anywhere can go through in order to know how to do the billing process?
We can publish the same. I think it's a fair ask. It's a very good ask. Normally, we haven't done that in the past because, again, like I said, we were looking at empaneled hospitals and we used to look at the capability of the hospital. You have to be slightly old, etc., right? So you have some practices set. But with Cashless Anywhere, you could be a hospital that started 2-3 months back, and you could still apply for a cashless in this case. And your own billing practices are evolving. Your line items are evolving. I understand that there can be an issue, and definitely we should publish some guidelines around that, and we should do a session around that also, Hari, to clarify to people.
That billing on Cashless Anywhere, so that these hospitals which are not used to doing billing in the proper way, what is happening? You suddenly find charges which the hospital thinks is a medical expense, but according to the IRDA NME, it is a non-medical expense. Claim processor will reject that amount, and the hospital will cry foul. There will be a discount there.
Correct. Dr. Jagrati has been mentioned for some time.
Dr. Jagrati, please.
Yeah, hi. So for ophthalmic, for surgeries, there is a limit.
Yes.
Yes.
There is a limit. The patient is allowed 40,000, 60,000, 25,000, whatever.
Correct.
So in this case, the bill is generally more than that. Patient tries to get a better package than what he is allowed. Okay. So for us, it is very easy to give a final approval. Then you just tell us that 40,000 will be paid. So I don't see the problem. There is no need for pre-approval and final approval and all that. You just say from the beginning that we will give you what the patient limit is there.
So, ma'am, for that, I'll tell you something. Anuj sir, is Ayushi on that instant discharge still on?
No, so we'll not bring instant discharge here.
No. I don't think Jagrati ma'am is on. She's, I think, on board only.
Yeah.
She's on panel.
Okay, so what is the reference you're trying to bring in?
I'll tell you the thing, sir. Because this entire doubt of giving the disease sublimit and everything, it is a standard question among ophthalmologists. So one solution to that is put anybody who asking this question, put it on the instant discharge team.
No, it doesn't work that way. I think let us again sticking to a non-network hospital. I do not have a contract. Now in the contract, I will say inclusive of lens, not inclusive of the lens. All the kind of drama happens, and the policy benefit may be, it could be anything. There are so many permutation combinations. Because it is not a contract, I do not know what you are going to send. Like I said, do not go with assumptions. If it is a cashless anywhere claim, please send the discharge date for that. Whatever you are talking about is for a different cohort of cases which happen for empaneled hospitals. There are contracts in place. Here, there is no contract. So we will not be blindsided, very clear. You should also not be blindsided with those things. It's apples and oranges, very clearly in my head.
So, Anuman sir, anything else, sir?
Thank you, Doctor.
Okay. Sir, anybody has any more queries?
There are questions in the chat, Dr. Hari.
Yeah, just opening, sir.
Because I logged in from the device, so I'm not able to see the questions. I don't know if I can see the chat.
Sir, this here one question about should we keep a security deposit from the patient?
Not required actually. If you have done the counseling and you have taken the declaration, you don't need to do that. Whatever deductions we do, you can collect later on.
So sometimes what happens is sometimes
I have a question.
Let him complete his point. Just hold.
Okay, yeah.
My point is that if, for example, I am proposing a surgery of 1 lakh and the patient has got an initial approval of only 50,000, maybe because of his sublimit, maybe because of some other reason, So the difference amount, do we keep it? Do we have the right to keep it as a deposit?
So like I said, your mood can change, my mood can change. I could be approving the entire amount also. Okay, because
It's to prevent embarrassment, basically.
sorry,
It's to prevent embarrassment.
Embarrassment to whom?
See, because what happens is, sir, in some situations, the initial approval. So here you are saying that the initial approval and the final approval will be more consistent in cashless anywhere.
No. I was talking about approval and payment.
Okay.
But between initial and final, there can be difference. In fact, there's a higher chance of a difference because I do not know. I do not have the contract.
Okay.
So, and the processor is not used to it because you're all going into the queue of the contracted parties, right? So, I'm being pragmatic here. I'm telling you the limitations of the system. So, the processor can make that, mistake because there is no pre-auth initial, nobody cares. Okay, it's only at the time of final that everyone opens up what is there, there's a bill, etc. Then you start to evaluate it. So wherever there are contracts in place, initial, final, you can be at peace, no problem. And we know it's an ongoing transaction, we can deal later on also. But here it's just one single transaction. You want to get it right.
So yeah. So here one question is, sir, is GIPSA take on this now? In cashless anywhere, even the PSU insurance companies are also on board, right, sir?
Yeah. All insurance companies are mandated to provide cashless anywhere to their customers.
So some assured.
I have a question.
Go ahead, ma'am, please.
No, just a second, Dr. Just a second, Dr. Namita. Just a second, Dr. Namita. Right now, we will look at all the questions in the chat.
Sir, I'm going through.
Please ask the chat questions first of all, because those people have asked the question before and we have not given them the chance.
A lot of the questions are with pertaining to the normal cashless. That's why I'm skipping them.
Skip them, please.
My question is that you don't have a contract with the hospital, but you have a contract with the patient, right? So if you have like a certain amount, like for ophthalmology, 50,000 is the limit. Why don't you provide that? Like not contract with the hospital, but patient ke saath to contract hai na?
Ma'am,
so you're liable to pay that much amount, aren't you?
I think I'll go by what Dr. Hari advised. It's a claim processing question. It's for a different day.
Okay, fine.
Okay. So Anuprita, ma'am. Anuprita, please.
You have to unmute yourself, doctor. You are on mute. I don't think she is around, Dr. Hari.
Yes. So, Mukesh sir, anything from your side?
Yes, sir. I have one single question.
Sir.
Is that the question is related to that only. We are not talking about the empaneled hospital already. We are talking about the hospitals who are planning to go under this cashless anywhere process. If a patient has come and he has a particular sublimit, can the initial approval be related to the sublimit only? And I mean, that's what my question is. If the initial approval can be stuck to whatever the sublimit of the patient is.
Again, it is a claim processing related question, Dr.
Here,
Not for empaneled hospitals, sir. It is for the...
See, the thing is, the question is that, sir, the initial approval in a cashless network hospital, it comes fast, and the initial approval is a provisional amount. But in a cashless anywhere kind of a situation, you need more clarity in the initial approval.
Yeah.
Sir, I unmuted myself. Can I talk?
Just a second, Dr. Anuprita. Let me answer Dr. Mukesh's question. What do you mean by more clarity? I do not understand. What does more clarity mean?
So more clarity in the sense, what happens is, sir, Mukesh sir, I'll tell you what. So in a normal cashless network hospital, okay, I send a request for 50,000. Patient has got a limit of 30,000. The initial approval comes for 30,000. Okay. We in goodwill think that additional 20,000 also will come. In the final approval, additional 20 doesn't come, 30 comes, and balance 20 payable by the patient. Correct?
Correct. Absolutely correct.
What you're saying?
Yeah,
but in cashless anywhere, I'll tell you the situation. Here we are not discussing with the TPN insurance company for each case when you are in the network.
Correct.
So in cashless anywhere, that's what he said. That's what Anush sir said, that you should have a very detailed discussion in regarding each and every case.
Yes.
And you should have a very good clarity before going ahead.
Done. So it will not be as per the patient sublimit is the answer, if I am not wrong.
Yeah, it will be well. See, patient supplement will always prevail, but in the initial approval itself, they will mention.
Okay.
Mukesh, because there is no contract, and you know, because you have done contract with so many other insurance companies and TPAs, some people have a package which is inclusive of the lens. Some say lens is outside the package. All kind of combination are there, but because there is a pre-existing contract, when there is an initial being given, the processor has a far better understanding when they are giving the approval. But for a non-network hospital, we will not ask that many questions at the initial stage. And there is no contract, there is no reference point also. We will wait for the final bill to come, everything, discharge summary, and then is the time when a lot of decisioning will happen, is my suggestion.
Okay.
Because we are not referring to a contract.
Sure, sir. Sure. Yeah.
It can surprise both the parties.
Sir, few chat, Anuprita, yeah, there is one chat.
Let's ask
Anuprita ma'am, please go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm just 6 months into the cashless process. So my question is, whenever we are having empanelment of any company, we actually sign a MOU regarding the particular charge or charge sheet.
Correct.
So in cashless everywhere, there won't be a MOU where there would be packages which are accepted by me or by the insurance company.
Correct.
So in that case, how much what would be the limit that I'm going to get, or would it be only dependent on how much the patient is having? Because many times, like for example, I got for gypsa only for one patient around initial approval 17,000, and later on final I got it only 15,000. Now a patient want to pay a rupee extra, so 15,000 is too less a amount to go for any lens.
Ma'am, I'll tell you the thing, ma'am. Here, you are talking about your cashless system. So, ma'am, actually, just by the way you just framed the question, I am able to understand that you didn't understand the concept of tariff rates signed in the agreement. So, ma'am, I would request with this particular question to contact me separately. We can have a discussion. And I can explain this to you in detail where you are going wrong.
Okay.
And same thing, there is another question in the chat by Mr. Chandive Mahendra Reddy. Many times I saw hospital discount after final approval, we are not given a discount to patient. So, sir, here also I would like to repeat the same thing. You need to understand your MOU better, on the billing process better. So the discount is not for the patient, the discount is for the agreement between you and the hospital in cashless. So that is not a question we would like.
No, sir, I wanted to know that how the tariff would be for cashless anywhere.
For cashless anywhere, the tariff would be the tariff that your hospital practices.
Okay.
Now you will propose your rate. After that, there may be discussions, there may not be discussions.
Okay.
There could be discussion on it, there may not be discussion on it. Some TPA insurance company might say, okay, this is what the rate you are charging, but I want something else. There can be a conversation on your rate.
Okay. Okay.
So
some insurance or TPAs may have that conversation.
Yeah. One question in the chat, sir. If a patient refuses to accept authorized amount in cashless anywhere, then can patient go for reimbursement?
Yes, absolutely. I think that I was waiting for this question to come. Yes. So,
initial approval आ गया, patient को operate किया, final approval आ गया, but patient को और hospital को final approval देके मजा नहीं आया.
Correct.
तो patient पूरा pay करेगा, आप bill दोगे, patient reimbursement कर लेगा.
Correct. Okay. And you have to send me a request for cancellation.
Cancellation. Yeah, I got it. That is, the patient has not utilized the approval.
Yes.
Okay.
Sir,
is there any
number of
beds? Sir?
Number of beds for empanelment?
Sir, number of beds for empanel for cashless anywhere, very simple. If your local authorities allows you to run as a hospital, you are allowed to do cashless anywhere.
Okay. No restrictions on number. Minimum number of beds.
Sir, whatever is your local rule.
Okay.
अगर आपके सिटी में आपके म्युनिसिपैलिटी ने 0 बेड पे भी आपको अप्रूव कर दिया तो आपका रजिस्टर्ड हॉस्पिटल है.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Sir. Anuj sir,
Yeah.
1 hour, 20 minutes over.
Yes, sir. And I have a dinner plan with friends.
So anyway, so I think we will close it, sir. Thank you to all the participants, and thanks for Ms. Anuj Jindal to be a part of it. And Mukesh sir, I hereby ask you to give a vote.
Thank you, Anand sir.
Vote of thanks
Thank
for
you,
the
Anand. It is really great every time. Yeah. Every time sir comes and clarifies a lot of doubts. Thank you so much, Anuj sir, and thank you, Hari sir, for organizing such a wonderful talk for all of us who are very, very naive to the concept of the insurance.
Sir.
And I always call it, as I told you earlier, it is bridging the gap between you, patient, and the insurance company to make the process a pretty more smoother, I guess.
Correct, sir.
So we hope to see you faster and sooner again, Anuj sir and Hari sir, for many more talks.
Sure.
Thank you everyone
Okay, sir.
for joining.
We'll call it a day.
Thank you for having me here, and good night, everyone. Bye bye.
Bye.